What does resilience feel like? Not the definition, the experience. When the world presses in, what does resilience feel like in our bodies? Does it feel like a clenched jaw pushing through another day? Or maybe it feels like a forced smile when the weight of a situation is bearing down. When the world presses in, we're called on for what looks like strength. And that version of resilience might take us far. And it might quietly cost us our freedom. I know this cost because after a neurological diagnosis changed my body and my future, I became really good at looking resilient. I was diagnosed in my 30s, and in my 40s, I transitioned to life in this wheelchair. It was a turning point in my life that I allowed to steal my freedom. Resilience is more than summoning strength in the face of hard things. It's what we practice when we have nowhere else to hide. I didn't learn this in a book. I learned it at 19,000 feet on the roof of Africa, Mount Kilimanjaro. Kibo Hut. It's the last stop before the summit. By the time my team and I had reached Kibo, they had fought beside me for 3 straight days. And that night, as I lay there in my bunk, if I'm honest, I wasn't imagining the summit. I was asking one question. Can I do it? The thing about that question, though, is it wasn't about the mountain. It was about looking strong. And I had to confront that version of resilience that I had been living by. And it didn't survive the dark. Before I take you any further on this climb together, I have a question. Who here today, by raising your hand, is carrying something heavy? Something in your family, with your health, in your work? I see you. Thank you. When you thought about that thing, did you feel the impulse to say, I have to look strong. I just need to make it through? Well, that impulse, it has a name. Researchers call it performative toughness. It's the pressure to signal strength or control in the face of hard things. And before the mountain, that version of resilience was turning me into someone that I didn't like very much. I would bring a low, constant hum into most rooms, especially at home. My wife and girls didn't quite know which version of me they were going to get. One time, I came home from traveling a few days, and my wife said to me, I'm glad you're home, but I am not glad for the stress that you bring into the house. That hit hard, because I realized I was becoming the kind of person that my family had to protect themselves from. And if we're honest, all of us know this in some ways when we realize that people aren't telling us the full truth. Few people call it out, they simply adjust. The mountain taught me 2 things, among many, but I want to share 2 things it taught me. There are two kinds of resilience. One that looks strong and that we're praised for, and another that's wiser and gentler and gives us our freedom back. I started learning this on the mountain the minute my plans started to fall apart. Day one on Kilimanjaro, everything went to plan. Day two, both front wheels on my wheelchair broke. And my team could not move the chair fast enough up the mountain. And so the Tanzanian porters had to step in for my team and move the chair. Suddenly, I realized I was no longer leading a climb, I was cargo. And I had a choice to make in that moment. I could pretend that this was still the climb that we had planned for over 2 years. Or I could tell the truth, that this was the climb now. Resilience does not begin by pushing through no matter what and sticking to the plan no matter what. Resilience is the practice of telling ourselves the truth of what actually is. By day 3 on Kilimanjaro at 12,000 feet, we were above the clouds. And the disappointment of the previous day had not disappeared. Around midday, we stopped and took a break, and I looked up, and there she was, Mount Kilimanjaro, Kibo Peak, the summit peak of the mountain. And as I sat there, I didn't look at the peak as something to conquer the next day. I looked at it as just something to sit with. And I felt something soften inside me. It was gratitude. Gratitude for where I was, and gratitude for who was with me, and that got me there. Gratitude does not erase frustration or disappointment. It puts it in perspective, and it's the bedrock of resilience. Day 4, summit day, started at 4:30 a.m. Temperatures were below freezing, and we moved through volcanic ash as thick as any beach sand that you have been in. Every inch was a struggle. Around 6 hours in, I looked up at this path, and I felt desperate. There has to be a faster way. And in almost the next moment, a quieter voice cut through and said, "Jeff, there are no shortcuts." Resilience is not looking for a better, faster, or more efficient way. Resilience is the practice of choosing the path that we've been given. Before the mountain, I thought resilience was something that we did. We push, we endure, we hold it all together. The mountain destroyed that illusion. Resilience is not what we perform under pressure. Resilience is the practice of remaining true when pressure removes all of our options. We reached 2 of the 3 summit points on Kilimanjaro, Gilman's and Stella points. It was celebration and relief. We were 500 yards from the final summit point, Uhuru Peak. The sun was going down, and we stopped to assess our situation. In that moment, I made the decision to turn around and begin our descent. I did not reach the highest point in Africa. Years ago, that reality would have wrecked me. But in that moment, I was not asking, could I have done more? I was asking, what is true? That decision wasn't forced, and it was not based on fear or pride. It was based on clarity, and it made me free. That clarity, it was built the night before at Kibo Hut, remember? I was lying in the dark, wondering if I could do it. And I remembered that just a week earlier, I had spoken to a high school class of students with special needs, and they had asked me, what do we do when things feel hard? So I lied there in my bunk, I tapped my fingers, and I said the words that I had told them. I can do it. I want to leave you with the same small practice for when you face hard things. Would you stand with me? Tap your fingers and say the words that I said that night. I can do it. Again, I can do it. One more time. I can do it. We say those words together, more than confidence, more than certainty, and even more than courage. Because resilience is so much more than a moment. Resilience, it's a choice. Thank you.
Great job.